Our upsert get action method looks good. If we go to the upsert view here, we have the form with the method of post here, and we are submitting that with update or create. So we can create a post action method for when a user hits the create or update button, we will retrieve the category object. So right here, we will have an HTTP post action method. We will have that attribute along with validate anti-forgery token for security. When they post, we will get a category object. On that object, before we do anything, we can check if model state dot is valid. That basically means that if there are any model state validations that we have on category object, it will validate that. Now I do not want to go into much security about model state because that is not Entity Framework core, but if you want to go into those details, I have done all of that in my free course on MVC. But if the model state is valid here, we can check if obj.categoryID is 0. That basically means that this is a create request. In the else part, this will be for update. In create, we want to create a new category. We will use our DB context. On there we have categories.add method, and there we can pass the obj. If you want to make the method async here, we will have to await, and this will be add async. The method here, we will have to make that async as well. Perfect. Now when we have to update, we can say underscore db dot categories. On there we also have a method which will be update, and there it expects a category object. We have that object right here. But with update we do not have the async method, so let's remove the await. Now previously when we saw update, what we used to do is retrieve a category, and from that category we used to update any properties and then save changes. But there is also an helper method available with the DB set for update. There, whatever object you pass based on that ID, it will update all the other properties. So there are two ways to update. You can pick whatever route you prefer, but make sure when you have the update here, it will update all the properties. Right now in our category, we just have name, so that's okay. But imagine a situation where you had 100 of properties and you only want to update 2 of them. In that case, the ideal approach will be to retrieve that object from the database, update only those 2 properties, and save the changes. Because if you use this update method, you have to make sure that in this obj the other 98 properties are exactly the same. Because if something in there is also updated, this update statement will update all of those properties based on the ID. Finally, outside of the block here, we can await underscore db dot save changes. That way we will save either creating or updating a category. Once we save the changes, we want to redirect back to the index page where we display all the categories. So we can say redirect to action, and we want to redirect back to the index action. Rather than using magic string here, we can use name of. And lastly, if the model state is not valid, we want to return back to the view, and we will pass obj right there. Now here, when we use async, we will have to return task of iAction result. So let me fix that, and the error should go away. Let me run the application and see if that works. We will go to category here. Let me try to update the cat2. Change that to be cat5. Perfect, that works. I will try to create one more category, which will be category 7. And great. With that, create and edit functionality are working as expected. I want to make one design change. I want to add a little bit of space there. We will go back in the upsert where we have the row here. Let me add padding y of 2. Now hot reload, I have disabled that, so let me enable that. I will enable the hot reload on file save, and with that let me restart the application. That way for designing changes, I do not have to rerun every time. And perfect. That looks good. In the next video, let me work on deleting a category.